Ladies and gentlemen, most people spend their nights scrolling through their phones, watching meaningless content and wondering why their dreams never come true. But what if I told you there's a 58-second ritual that ancient masters used every single night that could completely change your reality? What if the very thing you do right before sleep is the key to manifesting everything you've ever wanted? Tonight, I'm gonna share with you a night ritual so powerful that it has been practiced in monasteries for over 1,000 years. This isn't some new age nonsense or wishful thinking. This is a systematic approach to rewiring your subconscious mind during the most receptive time of day. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why those final moments before sleep hold the key to transforming your entire existence. Here's the thing that nobody talks about. Every single night, you're programming your subconscious mind, whether you realize it or not. But most people are doing it completely wrong. They're filling those precious moments before sleep with worry, stress, negative thoughts, or mindless entertainment. They're literally training their minds to expect failure, anxiety, and mediocrity. Think about what you did last night before you fell asleep. Did you scroll through social media? Did you watch the news? Did you worry about tomorrow's problems? Did you replay the day's failures in your mind? If you answered yes to any of these, you were unknowingly programming your subconscious for more of the same. The ancient masters understood something that modern science is only now beginning to prove. The state of your mind right before sleep is the most powerful programming tool you have. Your brain waves shift into theta frequency, which is the same state experienced during deep meditation and hypnosis. This is when your subconscious mind is wide open, ready to absorb whatever you feed it. But here's where it gets really interesting. Most people think manifestation is about positive thinking during the day or writing in a journal once in a while. They completely miss the most critical window of opportunity. Those final 58 seconds before you fall asleep are worth more than hours of daytime visualization because your conscious mind, with all its doubts and limiting beliefs, is finally getting out of the way. The science behind the night mind. Let me explain what's actually happening in your brain during those final moments before sleep. When you're transitioning from wakefulness to sleep, your brain produces theta waves which operate at a frequency of 4 to 7 Hz. This is the exact same frequency that hypnotists use to access the subconscious mind directly. Think about that for a moment. Every single night, without any effort on your part, your brain naturally enters the same state that professional hypnotists spend years learning to induce in their clients. During this theta state, your critical thinking mind starts to shut down. All those voices that usually say that's impossible or you're not good enough begin to fade away. Your subconscious mind, which controls about 95% of your daily actions and reactions, becomes incredibly receptive to new information and programming. It's like having a direct line to the control center of your entire life experience. But most people completely waste this opportunity by filling those moments with worry, stress, or mindless scrolling. Research from Harvard Medical School shows that information processed during this transition period gets transferred directly into long-term memory without the usual filtering that happens during waking hours. This means that whatever you focus on during these precious moments gets embedded deeply into your psyche, influencing your thoughts, emotions, and actions for days, weeks, and even months to come. Scientists have discovered that the hippocampus, which is responsible for memory formation, becomes hyperactive during this transition phase, literally rewiring neural pathways based on whatever information it receives. But there's more. Your subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's imagined. It simply accepts whatever information you give it as truth. So when you properly program it during this theta state, it begins working 24 hours a day to make that programming your reality. It starts noticing opportunities you would have missed, attracting circumstances that align with your desires, and literally rewiring your nervous system to operate at a higher level. What makes this even more powerful is that during theta brain waves, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for logic and skepticism, reduces its activity by up to 40%. This creates a window where limiting beliefs and negative thought patterns have less power to interfere with new programming. It's as if nature designed this perfect moment each day where you can bypass all the mental barriers that normally keep you stuck in old patterns. The research goes deeper. Studies at Stanford University have shown that people who consistently use this pre-sleep window for positive visualization show measurable changes in their brain structure within just 30 days. Their neural networks literally reorganize to support more optimistic thinking, better decision-making, and increased resilience to stress. The brain scans show increased gray matter density in areas associated with learning, memory, and emotional regulation. Your reticular activating system, which acts like a filter for all the information your senses take in every day, also becomes more malleable during these data. Normally, this system filters out millions of bits of information, only allowing through what it deems important based on your current beliefs and expectations. But when you program it during theta state with clear intentions and desires, it begins to notice and highlight opportunities and resources that support those intentions. The neurochemistry of this process is fascinating. During the transition to sleep, your brain releases specific neurotransmitters like GABA, which promotes relaxation and reduces cortisol, the stress hormone. At the same time, it increases the production of growth hormone and begins the process of memory consolidation. This unique chemical cocktail creates the perfect environment for deep subconscious programming. Even more interesting is what happens with your brain waves throughout the night. After you've planted these seeds of intention during REM sleep, your brain processes and integrates the information you gave it during the state. It creates new neural connections, strengthens existing pathways that align with your programming, and even generates creative solutions and insights related to your intention. People who practice this consistently often wake up with sudden clarity about problems they've been struggling with or new ideas for achieving their goals. The quantum physics of consciousness adds another layer to this understanding. Some researchers suggest that during this state, your brain becomes more coherent and synchronized, allowing for what they call non-local awareness. This might explain why people who use this practice often experience meaningful coincidences and synchronicities that seem to align perfectly with their intentions. Your consciousness becomes more connected to the larger field of possibility around you, the power of sacred transition. Ancient wisdom traditions have always recognized the transition from waking to sleeping as sacred time. They understood that consciousness doesn't simply switch off when we sleep. Instead, it transforms into a different state where the ordinary rules of reality become more flexible. Long before modern science could measure brain waves or study neurochemistry, these traditions recognized that the moments between waking and sleeping held extraordinary power for transformation and spiritual growth. In the monasteries, monks would spend their final waking moments in deep contemplation, not about their problems or worries, but about their highest aspirations and deepest truths. They knew that the last thought before sleep would echo through their dreams and influence their waking reality the next day. This wasn't based on superstition or wishful thinking. It was based on centuries of careful observation and experimentation with consciousness itself. These ancient practitioners understood something that modern psychology is only now beginning to validate. The state of your mind as you fall asleep doesn't just affect your dreams, it programs your subconscious mind for how you'll experience reality when you wake up. They observed that people who fell asleep in states of gratitude, peace, and clear intention would wake up more centered, more intuitive, and more aligned with their purpose. Those who fell asleep in states of worry, anger, or confusion would carry that energy into the next day. This isn't mystical thinking, this is practical psychology. When you end your day with intention instead of distraction, with clarity instead of confusion, with purpose instead of aimlessness, you're giving your subconscious mind a clear blueprint to work with throughout the night. Your brain doesn't stop working when you sleep. In fact, it becomes incredibly active, processing the day's experiences, consolidating memories, and even solving complex problems. But most importantly, it's during sleep that your subconscious mind sorts through all the information it received during the day and decides what's important enough to influence your future behavior. The Tibetan tradition speaks of the clear light of sleep, a state of pure awareness that exists between thoughts, between the end of one day and the beginning of the next. They teach that this moment contains infinite potential, and that whatever seeds you plant in this fertile ground of consciousness will grow and manifest in your waking life. They developed elaborate practices around preparing for sleep, treating it not as unconsciousness, but as a different form of consciousness with its own gifts and possibilities. In the Egyptian mystery schools, initiates were taught that the transition to sleep was a daily opportunity to commune with higher wisdom. They would lie down with specific intentions, asking for guidance, insight, or healing, and they would often receive profound answers through their dreams or wake up the next morning with clear solutions to challenges they had been facing. They understood that sleep was not an escape from reality but a deeper engagement with the creative forces of the universe. The Hindu tradition has long recognized the importance of what they call Yoga Nidra, the yoga of sleep. This practice involves maintaining conscious awareness as the body falls asleep, allowing practitioners to access deeper states of consciousness while remaining fully lucid. Advanced practitioners report being able to directly program their subconscious minds, heal physical ailments, and even access knowledge and insights that seem to come from beyond their personal experience. What's remarkable is that modern sleep research confirms many of these ancient insights. Scientists now know that during sleep, your brain literally washes itself, clearing out toxins and metabolic waste that accumulate during waking hours. But this cleaning process is not random. It's directed by the state of consciousness you're in as you fell asleep. If you fell asleep stressed and anxious, your brain will prioritize processing and strengthening neural pathways associated with stress and anxiety. If you fell asleep peaceful and purposeful, it will prioritize pathways associated with those positive states. The sacred texts also speak of sleep as a time when the soul travels, gathering information and experiences from other dimensions of reality. While this might sound fantastical to modern ears, quantum physics says that consciousness might indeed be able to access information and possibilities that exist beyond the physical brain. People who treat their sleep transition as sacred time often report profound dreams, creative insights, and intuitive guidance that dramatically improves their waking life. The practice of treating this transition as sacred also creates what psychologists call a ritual container for your consciousness. Just as athletes have pre-game rituals that help them perform at their peak, having a sacred transition ritual signals to your entire nervous system that something important is about to happen. Your mind becomes more focused, your body more relaxed, and your heart more open to receiving whatever guidance or healing you might need. This sacred approach to sleep also connects you to something larger than your individual concerns and worries. When you approach sleep with reverence and attention, you're acknowledging that your consciousness is part of a greater intelligence that operates beyond the limitations of your everyday thinking mind. This connection to something greater naturally dissolves the small worries and fears that normally keep people awake at night, replacing them with a sense of trust and alignment with the deeper currents of life, the 58-second framework. Now, let me break down the exact 58-second ritual that can transform your life. This isn't complicated, but it is precise. Every second matters because you're working with a narrow window of optimal brain state. Think of it like tuning into a radio station. You need to be on the exact frequency to receive the signal clearly. And your brain's theta state is that perfect frequency for subconscious programming. The first 15 seconds are about releasing the day. You're not rehashing problems or planning tomorrow's tasks. Instead, you are consciously letting go of everything that happened in the past 16 hours. You acknowledge the day without judgment, thank it for its lessons, and release it completely. This creates space in your mind for new programming. During these crucial first 15 seconds, you're essentially clearing the slate of your consciousness. Imagine your mind as a computer hard drive that's been collecting files all day long. Some of these files are useful, but many are just digital clutter, taking up valuable space and slowing down the system. As you begin this release process, you're not trying to forget the day or pretend it didn't happen. Instead, you're consciously choosing to let go of the emotional charge attached to the day's events. That argument with your coworker, the traffic jam that made you late, the bill that arrived in the mail, the compliment someone gave you, the small victory you achieved, all of it gets acknowledged and then consciously released. You might say something simple in your mind, like I acknowledge this day, and all it brought me, I thank it for its lessons, and I release it completely. What's happening during these 15 seconds is profound. You're training your nervous system to let go of the past instead of carrying it forward into your sleep and into tomorrow. Most people fall asleep with their minds still churning through the day's events, replaying conversations, worrying about unfinished business, or planning tomorrow's activities. This keeps their nervous system in a state of activation even as their body tries to rest. By consciously releasing the day, you're allowing your entire system to shift into a state of receptivity and openness. The next 28 seconds are the core of the practice. This is where you plant the seeds of your desired reality directly into your subconscious mind. But here's the crucial part that most people get wrong. You don't visualize what you want. Instead, you visualize yourself already having it. You see yourself living the life you desire, feeling the emotions you want to experience, being the person you want to become. This distinction is absolutely critical because your subconscious mind operates in the present tense. It doesn't understand future desires or wishes. It only understands current reality. During these 28 seconds, you're creating a vivid, detailed, multi-sensory experience of your desired reality as if it's happening right now. If your desire is financial abundance, you don't see yourself getting money. You see yourself already having it, using it, enjoying the freedom it provides. You feel the security, the peace of mind, the excitement of being able to help others or pursue your passions without financial constraints. If your desire is a loving relationship, you don't visualize finding someone. You visualize yourself already in that relationship, feeling loved, appreciated, understood, and connected. The key is to make this visualization as real and detailed as possible. You're not just seeing pictures in your mind, you're creating a full experience. What are you wearing in this desired reality? Where are you with? What sounds do you hear? What scents are in the air? How does your body feel? What emotions are flowing through you? The more senses you engage, the more real it becomes to your subconscious mind. But here's something most people don't realize. During these 28 seconds, you're not trying to figure out how this reality will come about. You're not planning or strategizing or worrying about the details. You're simply experiencing it as if it's already real. Your conscious mind might want to jump in with questions like, how will this happen? Or, this seems impossible. But remember, your conscious mind is naturally quieter during this theta state. You're working directly with your subconscious, which doesn't deal in limitations or impossibilities. It only deals in experiences and emotions. The final 15 seconds are about gratitude and surrender. You express genuine appreciation for what you already have and for what's coming into your life. Then you surrender the outcome, trusting that your subconscious mind will work throughout the night to align your reality with your vision. This gratitude isn't forced or fake positivity. It's a genuine appreciation for your current life, while simultaneously feeling grateful for the new reality you've just programmed into your subconscious. During these final 15 seconds, you're essentially sealing the programming you've just installed. Gratitude is one of the highest vibrational emotions, and it tells your subconscious mind that what you visualized is not only possible, but inevitable. When you feel grateful for something that hasn't manifested yet, you're operating from the same emotional frequency as if it had already happened. This is the emotional signature that your subconscious mind uses to guide your actions and attract circumstances in your waking life. The surrender part is equally important. You're releasing any attachment to how or when this reality will manifest. You're trusting that your subconscious mind, working with the infinite intelligence of the universe, knows the best path forward. This surrender isn't passive resignation. It's active trust combined with the understanding that your job is to plant the seed clearly and consistently. The germination and growth process will happen naturally if you don't interfere with doubt, worry, or impatience. The art of emotional programming. Most people completely miss this crucial element. Manifestation isn't just about mental images or positive thoughts. It's about emotional states. Your subconscious mind responds much more powerfully to emotions than to thoughts. This is why you can think positive thoughts all day long, but still feel stuck. If those thoughts don't carry emotional weight, your emotions are the language your subconscious mind understands best. They're like the fuel that powers the engine of manifestation. During those 28 seconds of core visualization, you're not just seeing your desired reality, you're feeling it. Failing. You're generating the exact emotions you would experience if your desires were already fulfilled. Joy, gratitude, peace, excitement, confidence, love, security, freedom. Whatever emotional state aligns with your vision becomes the dominant frequency you're broadcasting into your subconscious mind. This emotional programming is what transforms a simple mental exercise into a powerful reality-shaping practice. Here's why this works so powerfully. Your nervous system can't tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real, especially during the theta brain state when you consistently generate the emotions of your desired reality right before sleep. Your nervous system begins to expect those emotions in your waking life. It starts creating circumstances that match those emotional states. Your body literally becomes addicted to feeling the way you consistently program it to feel during those precious moments before sleep. Think about how this works in reverse with negative emotion. If you consistently fall asleep feeling anxious, worried, or frustrated, your nervous system learns to expect these emotions. It becomes comfortable with stress and actually starts creating situations that justify these familiar emotional states. Your subconscious mind, in its attempt to maintain consistency between your inner programming and your outer reality, will guide you toward experiences that match your emotional programming. But when you flip this process and consistently program positive, empowering emotions, something amazing happens. Your nervous system starts seeking out experiences that match these elevated emotional states. You begin to notice opportunities you would have missed before. You start attracting people who operate at similar emotional frequencies. You make decisions that align with the emotional reality you've been programming rather than decisions based on fear, lack, or limitation. The science behind this is fascinating. Every emotion you experience creates a specific cocktail of neurochemicals in your brain and body. When you feel joy, your body produces different chemicals than when you feel fear. When you feel grateful, your heart rhythm becomes coherent and your brainwaves synchronize. When you feel love, your body produces oxytocin and endorphins that not only make you feel good, but actually strengthen your immune system and improve your physical health. During those 28 seconds of emotional programming, you're literally bathing your cells in the neurochemistry of your desired reality. Your body begins to memorize these chemical patterns and starts craving them. This creates a powerful momentum where your physical system supports your mental programming. You don't have to convince yourself to feel good. Your body naturally gravitates towards states that match your consistent programming. This is why people who practice this ritual often report sudden opportunities, unexpected encounters, and coincidences that seem to align perfectly with their desires. They're not experiencing magic. They're experiencing the natural result of programming their subconscious mind with emotional clarity and conviction. Their emotional programming creates a magnetic field that attracts experiences, people, and circumstances that match their inner frequency. But here's what most people struggle with initially when you first start this practice. The emotions might feel forced or fake. You might think you're just pretending to feel abundant when you're actually struggling financially, or pretending to feel confident when you actually feel insecure. This is normal and expected. Your current emotional patterns have been reinforced for years, maybe decades. It takes consistent practice to install new emotional programs. The key is to start with emotions that feel accessible and gradually build your emotional range. Maybe you can't immediately feel abundant, but you can feel hopeful. Maybe you can't immediately feel confident, but you can feel curious. Maybe you can't immediately feel loved, but you can feel peaceful. Start where you can and gradually expand your emotional programming as these new patterns become more familiar and natural. The most powerful aspect of emotional programming is that it works on multiple levels simultaneously. Not only does it program your subconscious mind and nervous system, but it also affects your energy field, your body language, your voice tone, and your overall presence. People around you respond to these subtle changes even before you're consciously aware of them. When your deep programming shifts from scarcity to abundance, from fear to love, from doubt to certainty, everyone in your environment picks up on this shift and begins treating you differently. This creates a positive feedback loop where your inner programming attracts external validation, which reinforces your inner programming, which attracts even more positive experience. The 58 seconds you spend in emotional programming each night becomes the seed that grows into a completely transformed life experience. But it all starts with understanding that emotions, not thoughts, are the primary language of manifestation and change. Breaking through mental resistance. Here's where most people struggle. And I want to address this head on because it's probably the biggest obstacle you'll face. Your conscious mind is going to resist this practice, especially in the beginning. It's going to tell you it's silly, that it won't work, that you're wasting your time. You might find yourself lying in bed trying to do the visualization and hearing a voice in your head saying things like, "This is stupid. Nothing ever works for me," or "I'm just kidding myself." This inner skeptic isn't trying to hurt you. It's actually trying to protect you from disappointment. But in doing so, it keeps you trapped in familiar patterns of limitation. This resistance happens because your current identity and belief system are trying to protect themselves. If you've been programmed to expect struggle, limitation, and mediocrity, then imagining abundance, ease, and success feels threatening to your existing mental structure. Your mind has invested years, maybe decades, in building a coherent story about who you are and what's possible for you. When you start programming a different reality, it's like telling your mind that everything it thought it knew about you and your life might be wrong. Your ego, which is essentially your sense of separate self, has a vested interest in maintaining consistency. It would rather be consistently unhappy than inconsistently happy because inconsistency feels dangerous to the ego. It interprets change, even positive change, as a potential threat to its existence. So when you start visualizing yourself as confident, abundant, or successful, your ego might panic and try to shut down the process with doubt, cynicism, or distraction. But here's what you need to understand. This resistance is actually proof that the practice is working. You're attempting to install new software into a system that's been running old programs for years, maybe decades. Of course, there's going to be some conflict. When computer programmers update software, they expect some temporary glitches and compatibility issues while the new program integrates with the existing system. Your mind works the same way. The resistance often shows up in sneaky ways. You might suddenly remember urgent tasks right as you're trying to do the visualization. You might feel incredibly sleepy the moment you start the practice, even though you were wide awake just minutes before. You might find yourself getting distracted by random thoughts, sounds, or physical sensations. Your phone might seem particularly appealing, or you might suddenly feel the need to check your email one more time. All of these are manifestations of mental resistance trying to pull you away from the practice. Sometimes the resistance comes in the form of analysis paralysis. Your mind might want to understand exactly how the practice works before you do it. Or it might want guarantees about the results. It might start questioning whether you're visualizing the right things or doing the technique correctly. This is the ego's way of keeping you stuck in thinking about the practice instead of actually doing it. The key is to persist through the resistance without fighting it. Don't try to force your mind to believe something it's not ready to believe. Instead, simply focus on the practice itself. Show up every night for those 58 seconds, regardless of how you feel about it or whether you think it's working. Treat it like brushing your teeth. You don't have to believe that brushing your teeth works every time you do it. You just do it because it's a healthy habit that you know serves you in the long run. When the resistance shows up, acknowledge it without judgment. You might say to yourself, "I notice my mind is resisting this right now, and that's okay. I'm going to do the practice anyway." Don't argue with the resistance or try to convince it to go away. Just gently redirect your attention back to the visualization and emotional programming. Over time, something fascinating happens. Your subconscious mind begins to accept the new programming, not because you convinced it intellectually, but because you consistently demonstrated a new pattern. Repetition is the mother of all learning, especially subconscious learning. Your subconscious doesn't care whether your conscious mind believes in the practice. It only cares about what you consistently feed it with attention and emotion. Think of it like learning to drive a car. At first, everything feels awkward and your conscious mind is actively involved in every movement. You have to think about pressing the gas pedal, steering, checking mirrors, signaling. But after enough repetition, driving becomes automatic. Your subconscious mind takes over and you can drive while having a conversation or listening to music. The same thing happens with this night ritual. Initially, your conscious mind might resist or interfere, but with consistent practice, the new programming becomes automatic. The breakthrough usually happens gradually rather than dramatically. You might not notice the resistance decreasing day by day, but after a few weeks of consistent practice, you realize that the skeptical voice has quieted down. The practice will start feeling natural, even enjoyable. You might even find yourself looking forward to those 58 seconds as a peaceful end to your day. One important thing to remember is that resistance often increases right before a breakthrough. This is what's sometimes called the dark night of the soul in spiritual traditions. Just when you're about to make a significant shift, your old programming might fight back with extra intensity. If you understand this pattern, you won't be discouraged when it happens. Instead, you'll recognize it as a sign that you're close to a major transformation. The most powerful way to work with resistance is to approach it with curiosity rather than frustration. When you notice your mind resisting, you can think, isn't this interesting? Part of me is afraid of changing. Part of me would rather stay stuck than risk disappointment. This compassionate awareness often dissolves the resistance more effectively than fighting against it. The ripple effect of night programming. What most people don't realize is that this 58-second ritual doesn't just affect your sleep and dreams, it creates a ripple effect that transforms your entire waking experience. When you consistently program your subconscious mind with clear, emotionally charged visions of your desired reality, several things begin to happen automatically. These changes often start so subtly that you might not notice them at first, but over time they compound into dramatic shifts in every area of your life. First, your perception starts to change. You begin noticing opportunities, resources, and connections that were always there, but previously invisible to you. This isn't because the world suddenly changed. It's because your reticular activating system, the part of your brain that filters information, has been reprogrammed to look for evidence of your desired reality instead of evidence of your limitation. Your brain processes millions of bits of sensory information every second, but it can only bring a tiny fraction of that into your conscious awareness. The reticular activating system decides what's important enough to notice based on your current programming. When you consistently program your subconscious with images and emotions of success, abundance, and fulfillment, your reticular activating system starts filtering reality through this new lens. Suddenly, you notice the business opportunity that was always posted on that community bulletin board. You hear about the perfect apartment that's available for rent through a casual conversation you would have ignored before. You spot the book in the bookstore that contains exactly the information you need for your next project. These aren't coincidences. When you begin to consciously shift your identity and align it with the person you want to become, something profound starts happening within your mind. It's not magic, it's the natural result of your brain being reprogrammed to notice things that support your new identity and desires. Suddenly, what once felt invisible starts to stand out clearly. Opportunities, resources, and people that align with your goals seem to appear out of nowhere. But the truth is, they were always there. You simply weren't tuned into them before. It's like changing the frequency on a radio. The music was always playing, but until you turned the dial, you couldn't hear it. This shift goes far deeper than simply noticing external opportunities. The real transformation begins inside you. Your internal dialogue, the constant chatter in your head, begins to change in ways you may not even realize at first. Before, your thoughts may have been filled with self-doubt, criticism, or fear. What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What if things never change? Those thoughts created a mental environment that kept you stuck because your brain will always find evidence to confirm what you believe. If you constantly believe things will go wrong, your mind will filter the world to highlight every piece of proof that supports that belief. But when you start aligning with a new identity, the version of you who is confident, capable, and worthy, your brain begins looking for evidence to confirm that instead. It starts filtering reality differently. Suddenly, you notice small wins you might have overlooked before. You hear encouragement where you once only heard criticism. You see possibilities where you once only saw obstacles. This is not just a mental trick. It's your brain rewiring itself to match the story you're telling about who you are and what you deserve. And here's the powerful part. As your thoughts shift, so does your emotional state. When your mind repeatedly rehearses thoughts that affirm your goals, your confidence grows naturally. You begin to feel hope instead of fear, determination instead of hesitation. That internal dialogue that used to sabotage you now begins to support you. It whispers, you can handle this, you're capable, keep going. This is why so much personal growth begins with the way you think. The thoughts you entertain become the lens through which you see the world. Change the lens and you change what you notice. Change what you notice, change what you notice, and you change the actions you take. Change your actions and you change your entire life. It all begins with deciding who you want to be and then training your brain to believe it. The shift in perception is simply your mind catching up with a new identity you've chosen.